Hello members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers, we're back here for Joy of Unpacking. It's another episode of looking through some of those old favourites as I unpack my entire games collection. And here it is all around you, and you can see I'm getting very organised. They're all in boxes, I've got names on the boxes. This is all to keep me pretty organised until I finally get them on the shelves. But before we get started on some more unpacking, I'm going to fulfil some of those requests that I got in the comments section. Let's look through some of the games that you wanted to have a closer look at. Right then, let's get started. And the first one on the list was requested by two of our viewers. That was Alpha TKKS and Ian Kelly. And they both wanted to see inside Advanced Hero Quest. Here it is. Have a look at the back. And as you can see, heroic roleplay in a world of magic and mayhem. This came out after Hero Quest, and you know, it's a completely different system than Hero Quest. They called it Advanced Hero Quest because Hero Quest was so successful, and they were capitalising on that. And you can see they've also capitalised on using some old artwork. That's the cover artwork from the original Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay book. Over here, a lovely piece by, it looks like Wayne England, who sadly passed away recently. Fantastic illustrator. And it came with some very nice figures, as you can see, but let's have a look inside and look at those figures. Now, I must point out, with all of these unboxings of old games, I've done a lot of funny things to them over the years, and this may not be the exact components that came with the original. You can also see, the dreaded spotty mould has hit the inside of this box. It's pretty old, and there's a bit on the outside too, so I'm going to attend to that quickly and get rid of that, but it's a little bit damaged. Oh dear. Inside, however, everything looks fine, which is a great relief, because I've put a few silica gel packets in here. So these are the miniatures that came with it, and it came with these slightly glossy looking floor tiles, and as you can see, it was a modular system. Nice thick cardboard there. There's a whole heap of corridor tiles, these joining ones. Pretty simple artwork, nothing too complex. It had some nice plastic doors, however, which I've never got around to painting up. As you can see, they even open. Some 12-sided dice. Didn't remember it was 12-sided. There's a whole pack of counters here. More counters. These look like wound counters. There's sort of some maps in there that are part of one of the scenarios, and some pieces of a seal that you can put together. Explosions, here's some other extra bits. And here are the rooms themselves, and again, in keeping with the style of Advanced Hero Quest, pretty plain artwork, pretty generic. And not a huge number of them really, but enough for a lot of gaming fun. Now, I don't have the original rulebook anymore because I chopped it up and I put it in one of these big folders that I talked about in one of my earlier videos. And as you can see, it's chock-a-block because it not only has the original rulebook, which is this one, but it has a lot of extra stuff that I got out of White Dwarf magazine when this was released. Extra quests and things. Let's have a look. Here we go, The Dark Beneath the World. Based on a short story, that's another scenario. Priests of Pleasure, the quest for Sonny. So you can see Rivers of Blood. These were all from White Dwarf issues and had extra adventures. So there you go, Advanced Hero Quest. A quick look. Oh, hold on, I haven't shown you the miniatures yet. And here they are, and aren't they lovely? Simple, iconic. Back from in the days when Games Workshop didn't muck around with all the spiky detail, extra stuff. These are just good old simple fantasy figures. A whole pack of Skaven, all of which look pretty much exactly the same. There were also about 12 henchmen figures in this set. I don't know where they are, they're in another box somewhere. There you go, there are the figures. Not a huge variety of stuff really. Henchmen, 4 heroes and about 20 Skaven. And that's what you got, because the rest of Advanced Hero Quest was designed to get you buying as many Citadel figures as possible and add them to your games. Well, that's Advanced Hero Quest, and thank you for requesting that one. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have discovered that mould inside the box lid. And that lid is now outside in the sun, where all the mould spores are going, "Ah, I'm dying. And, well, should they die, the horrible things. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. Well, here are a couple of oldies, and these two were requested by Ian O'Toole. Thank you, Ian. We have Judge Dredd, it's from 1982, and Rogue Trooper from 1987. Surprisingly 5 years between these games, because they're both based on characters from the 2000 AD comics with which Games Workshop was associated for some years. Judge Dredd is a fun little game. It's for 2 to 6 players. As you can see, I've done a rules summary for it. Here are the rules. And you can see they didn't spend too much effort on rules layout back in those days. Black on white and not a whole lot of layout, just wall-to-wall text. It comes with a little card album which describes some of the characters on the cards for those players who don't know a lot about 2000 AD and Mega City 1. And here's the board. Let's check out this lovely board. Oh, and look at that. It's a 4-piece jigsaw board, and it's big picture, incredibly detailed, of Mega City 1 broken up into districts. So that's what you play the game on, and you play it with these tiny little Judge Dredd figures and 1 6-sided dice. And you have a bunch of cards, and these are the cards which represent the crimes that you go and try to stop throughout town. You've got these judge cards and various other bits and bobs. All black and white artwork from the 2000 AD comics. Lots of characters that you'll recognise from those stories. And also I've put in here, for some reason, a Judge Dredd miniature that I bought at some point. I think I bought them about the same time I bought the Judge Dredd role-playing game that Games Workshop came out with at about this time. Now let's look at Rogue Trooper. Here's the battle manual. Opens with one of the comic strips. And then we go into the rules. You can see the layout has improved. 5 years have passed and things are looking better. And there's an advertisement there for Rogue Trooper miniatures. We've got a survival guide, which, some kind of descriptive reference sheet, but not really used in the game. And again, a jigsaw piece game board. This one's a bit larger, it's 6 pieces. There's the game board, quite spectacular. It's New Earth, and it's divided up into regions. Kind of sad to see the effects of age starting to affect these old games. Like me, they're getting on a little bit, and they're a bit mottled and faded and just looking a bit old. They don't last forever, unfortunately, board games. They're only made of cardboard and bits and paper, and they do tend to start deteriorating over the years, which is a bit sad. Anyway, here's what you get inside the box, and I've made a foam core insert, as I have for most things. You have these tiny cards, tiny, thin, flimsy 2-colour cards, and there are various supply and encounter cards used throughout the game. You're trying to find a traitor in this game. Here he is, and then you track him to one of the bases and kill him, and But it came with some nice little miniatures, little plastic miniatures for the Rogue Troopers, dice, some dodgy little counters, and these reference sheets, which I seem to have laminated at some point. These are for the GIs. So you track your weapons and ammo here, and you have biochips for the helm, bagman and gunner. Those of you who know the comic will know what I'm talking about. The rest of you will go, huh? So, add my rules summary, and there you have it. Rogue Trooper. Continuing on down memory lane, we had a request for a look at Talisman, the Magical Quest game. This is the original edition, and it was Ice for Elbow Smash who asked for this. got some funny YouTube handles, don't we? And you can see that it's very different from the later edition. There was a later edition by... Who did the later one? Someone did, and then Fantasy Flight did one. And there are rumours going around that Games Workshop are going to do their own edition again and bring it all full circle, but we'll see about that. In the meantime, this is the original one. Lovely illustration on the cover by the well-known fantasy illustrator Gary Chalk, who is still producing great artwork to this day. Well, this game is starting to show its age, I must admit. This came out in 1983, the year I left high school, in fact. Here's our rulebook. It's getting a little bit blotchy and old. Oh, look, this is back in the days when I actually underlined major rules in the rulebook. Oh, imagine doing that now. Never! As you can see, I've shoved in a whole lot of expansions in here. Here's the rules for Talisman City. And a bit about master level characters from White Dwarf. Some characters there that never get shot. Oh, look at this. Half an ad for Space Marine. That's interesting. Where's the other half? Not there. So White Dwarf stuff. Timescape. I don't know how I managed to cram all this into one box. Talisman the Adventure. Wish I'd kept the original boxes now. Talisman Dungeon. Question and answers. Right, Talisman character sheets. And here's bits from all the different games. So here's the town one. What was this? Talisman City. This was the board for Talisman City. Here was the board for... Oh, this really is looking a bit old and haggard. For Timescape. Bizarre sort of mixture of throwing in a bit of Warhammer 40,000 into Talisman, which seemed bizarre at the time. Here's the board for Talisman Dungeon, which looks like it came in two pieces. Look at that artwork, eh? And then under all that, here's the original Talisman board. Bit of a classic. Oh, there it is. Ah, memories. Certainly brings back memories, that one. It's a great board. Great artist, Gary Chalk, did some lovely stuff there. It's really got character. And, yeah, a lot of good adventures were played on this board. It's a straightforward roll and move game, but it's a bit of fun. Looking a bit tired there in the middle. And here I've managed to squeeze everything into a very, very low foam core box. So these were your original characters. Little cards like that. And then everything else was on these tiny little cards. Then you had these very thin little counters to keep track of all your points. And of course, didn't have miniatures back then, though actually they did make miniatures. They did make metal miniatures for this game. But in the meantime, you used these flimsy standees and stuck them into the bases like so. So it's looking pretty primitive. Oh, look here, there's some of the end bosses. Of course, the horrible Black Void. Ah! There you have it, original Talisman. Now, Curtis Delaney, who's one of the regular visitors to the Esoteric Order of Gamers and a valued member, he wanted to see some of these old games that have since been revamped by, excuse the pun, revamped by Fantasy Flight Games. Here's a couple. Dungeon Quest and Fury of Dracula. These are the original editions. Dungeon Quest came out in 1987 and the Fury of Dracula came out in 1987 as well. It was a good year for games. Let's have a look inside. Now, what's that Ticket to Ride tin doing in there? Well, it's holding the pieces of Dungeon Quest. These are the original counters. As you can see, these are the combat counters, and then the actual counters that show the different things with different shapes, and they're very, very flimsy indeed. Also comes with a pack of just square counters for gold and rings and things, and these were sort of used like cards. You turn them over and that's the artwork. So there's the bits. These are the tiles themselves. I do have the new edition, but I haven't played this game for a long, long time. It's quite a cutthroat game and you can die horribly very easily in it. It looks like it came with some miniatures. And another 12-sided die. I didn't so many 12-sided dice. Haven't got around to painting these, as you can see. There's just 4 characters. No female representation there either. Dear oh dear. And here are the rules. And you can see big advances being made in rules layout. Still one colour, but certainly looks a lot nicer. Here are your characters' sheets with life point tracks. Adventurer, Barbarian, Ranger and Knight. And the board itself. And there's our original Dungeon Quest board. I've got the little matrix for doing your combats there. A couple of tables on the board. A description of what all the rooms are and tiles. And of course there's the central treasure room that everybody's trying to get through, but so few get to. Well, many get to it, but then they don't get out again. Here's what's inside another old favourite, the original The Fury of Dracula. It was called The Fury of Dracula back then, now it's just called Fury of Dracula. And it was a great game. Very different from how it is now, of course. There's no track that you put cards on to keep track of Dracula. No, it was a lot harder then. These were the very simple cards that you draw that give you special abilities, some of which belong to Dracula and some of which belong to the people chasing him. One dice. Very simple counters. Here are my original figures. Now, of course, I had the Metal Miniatures Limited Edition, and it came with these lovely little figures. And there they are, not a meaner harker among them. No, there were just these 4 little metal guys. Look at that Van Helsing there, isn't that great? And these certainly bring back a lot of memories, these figures. Here's the original rulebook. Again, underlining rules. And lovely character cards. This was really amazing design for the time. And look at that, heavy stuff. Hunters versus Dracula, Dracula versus Hunters. This is the combat chart. And Dracula got this sort of screen that he could put up, and this was great, this screen, because it really divided Dracula and the players psychologically as well. But look at all this information. Ha! You kids think you have it hard these days. Wow, we really had to soak up the rules back then. Reference. And here's the board. Wow, I had no memory of the board being so small and simple, really. There's not much to it at all. Great game, The Fury of Dracula. Yes, had some great games on this, and it still to this day remains an excellent game and worth playing. Here's another one from 1987. This one was requested by PGTMG624. And it's Blockmania, again based on the 2000 AD comics, and it's a game of the huge mega city living blocks going to war against each other. And here's its expansion, Megamania. And here are the boards that you play on. There's 2 of these boards, one for each block. And as you can see, that is broken up into spaces with lifts between them and stuff like that. And some special spaces as well. And what you do with these is you put them side by side and you get a whole lot of these counters, and they go to war against each other. And you've also got a deck of cards which represent the justice of the judges and what they do. You know, I don't even think I ever got around to playing Blockmania, but I think it's quite fun. You basically play until the blocks collapse and kill everybody, which is kind of fun. But we get in Megamania. I think you got a chance to play more. 2 more blocks. You can play more players at once. 2 more blocks and a whole lot of figures, and look, I haven't even cut them out. Wow. Glad I kept the original box this time, that was good. Well, fast forward 10 years, 1987 saw Gorka Morka released. It didn't really last too long. It was a game of car combat. Cars, in this case, being trucks and thrown together buggies driven by orcs on some planet somewhere. Funny old concept, mixing orcs and car combat. Could have worked, don't think it really did. This was requested by Nico TJ, and as you can see, you got quite a lot in the box. Look at that. I still have all this terrain. I put it in a big box with my Necromunda terrain these days. But you got little turning templates, and you got these great plastic trucks. Nope, I haven't. There's a whole lot of sprues in here, and they haven't even been taken apart. There's some terrain, and I really should put this together and find out what this game is like. Interesting. Here are the rules, and there's Da Other Book, this is called. Yes. And there's some reference sheets. Look, you can do shunting and T-boning and heading on, so it is like a car combat game. Actually, within all this wrapping, there's some old Warhammer 40,000 orcs. These guys really go back, and in fact, this is a converted one. I put that weapon on myself. These are the very old Warhammer 40,000 orcs, and it's probably quite collectible these days. They're great figures, everyone just bursting with character. Oh, this one's very special. Look at that, it's a metal orc buggy. This certainly didn't come with the game, none of these metal ones did. This really takes me back. Oh look, I tell a lie, I did make a start at making these trucks, but I didn't get any further than the bodies. But they look pretty good. And look, you got two of these sort of war bike truck things too. Well, this thing is weird. This is a strange little kit bash I made years and years and years back in the 80s. I think I made this, and it came with a flying stand, and I got these plastic bits, I think, from some other totally unrelated non-Games Workshop kit and put these figures in it. So this was back in the days when I was doing strange little kit bashes like this. So, Gorka Morka, a funny game from the Games Workshop past, and I really must get these bits out, put it together, give it a go. That's another project. Well, that's it for today, my fellow gamers. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for bringing in those suggestions so I could unbox a few of these things in more detail. Hope you enjoyed looking at them. I've got some more battle reports coming up. There's three battle reports coming, and they're all of these classic Games Workshop games. They are, I'm not going to tell you, but they're really, really good, and we've got some big terrain out. It looks spectacular. They're going to be really good battle reports. So look out for those. Next time we come back to the Joy of Unpacking, I'm going to unpack some of the old role-playing games from the old days, right back to original D&D, and going through the TSR years and some other stuff too. It'll be really interesting to have a look at. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to go to the website www.orderofgamers and check out all good stuff there. And if you happen to pass that donate button, you feel like giving it a click, you just give in to the impulse and go right ahead. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Esoteric Order of Gamers. Bye for now.